The Producer Spotlight with Mr. Instro.
You can be a beat maker and not be a music producer. But when you're a music producer, you don't have to be a beat maker.
Only on the element.
Because how do you say?
Okay. But I did say, though, that, like, you know, we appreciate the singing.
No,
it just needs to get on pitch.
No.
That's all. That's my gripe.
No, the fun.
The pitch.
No, the fun is in being off key.
No, it's not fun for us. Must go to the piano and go. Then let's go.
And then you're surprised when I say you hate me. Why do you hate me today, this weekend? Why do you hate me?
Like I said, hate is a very strong word. I don't hate you.
How are you?
Yo, I'm happy. I'm good. Yeah, it's been a great week so far.
Oh,
I can't believe it's Wednesday.
Where's it been a great week?
Where? Yeah. How? Or in Instro's life, you know, like in the things that involve me and what I do, and you know, just being in a space where I'm allowed to be creative, I'm allowed to make mistakes, I'm allowed to just be the best I can be. It's been beautiful so far. Yeah.
Did you see your dreams of being a superstar last week started to materialize after we put after we put up protection?
It got rough. Yo, I got a little scared there. But you know what? Like, when you speak the truth and when you like present yourself not as a gatekeeper but as someone who wants to have like a community of people that have the same interests, you sort of like see that, like, okay, cool, I'm not as like, you know, small or insignificant as I would think I am. So yeah, it was interesting. Very, very interesting experiment.
Very interesting experiment. Mr. Instro told me that he wanted to be a superstar last week, and I did my best to try and make it happen.
You did.
And I'm going to do my best to try and make it happen every single week. If you just plugged in, it's 25 minutes to go before we hit 7 p.m. Every single Wednesday between 6:30 and 7:30, myself and Mr. Instro come through with the Producer Spotlight. Now, the purpose of the Producer Spotlight is to really speak on production, and we've said this before, where producers don't necessarily get the love and appreciation that they deserve. So Mr. Instro was like, yo man, let's do this thing. So we spotlight a producer, we look at their work, we listen to their music, and we take what we can learn from them, because one thing about hip-hop is that it's not just about the music, and you don't necessarily have to be a producer, for instance, to learn from a producer. And that's what I appreciate about it as well. It's also an opportunity for us to switch the roles, you know, because I'm the radio baby and I know all of this stuff, and then you say production and I'm like, huh? So yeah, Professor Instro is here. And who are we looking at today?
Today we're looking at like a very interesting, maybe not so well known music producer, Maryland native. His name is Kev Brown, and he's one of these crazy dope, you know, boom bap music producers that come from, you know, the MPC 2000 age, and they're still making some great music today. Yeah, Kev Brown.
Kev Brown. All right. So for those of us who might not know, we always have a bio just to bring us up to speed a little bit. So this one coming from allmusic.com, and it says, hailing from Landover, Maryland, Kevin Brown, aka Kev Brown, got his first exposure to hip hop when he heard his brother's copy of the 1986 Run-D.M.C album Raising Hell.
Yeah.
Though he didn't begin to heavily immerse himself in the genre until he was in high school in the early 90s. Soon he began writing his own rhymes, but quickly found that his true talents lay in production. In 2001, PD Rock played a track that Brown did with a rapper called Grab Lover. The joint was called What Ruling Means for Marley Marl, who was so impressed with what he heard that he included the song on his album Re-Entry, which came out that same year. Now that led to work with De La Soul and Jazzy Jeff, but it wasn't until 2004 when the Brown album, his remix version of Jay-Z's The Black Album, came, that he started to receive real attention. So Kev Brown, Mr. Adzu What Adzu.
Yeah, that's it. That was beautiful. I think that like we're in a place right now where we need to study produces holistically.
Yeah.
And there are some that easily just go out of our what's it called?
Periphery?
Yeah, like they're just in our blind spot.
The English I know.
No
the production
doubt.
I don't know. But the English.
No, trust you with it. Yeah, they're out. They're in your blind spot, and Kev Brown is definitely one of those producers for me. Good example is he came here to South Africa in 2008. Mm-hmm. It might have been 9, but I think it was 2008. Came to South Africa, and I had never seen anybody make a beat live on stage.
All right, before you unpack that for us, we need to go get some more money because we like the money.
Let's do that.
So there's about 30 seconds to go before we hit 20 to 7. We're gonna go get some money, and thereafter we're gonna unpack for about 10 minutes, and we want to hear this experience that Mr. Instro had in 2008 2009. It is the Element on the Rocking Real and Relevant Massive Metro every single weekday from 6 until 8 p.m. all for the love of hip-hop. Only on the Element 20 minutes ago before we hit 7 o'clock, the first producer spotlight where I haven't sung.
So sad.
It's your fault.
So sad. I'm actually.
I've been telling you for days, how don't deserve, and I warned you.
Since last week.
I warned you last week. This thing that you're always making funny faces for. And then today I was just like, today's the day.
Hey, it was too quick. Just so we're clear, Jay. Just so it was too quick.
It's fine. We'll see how I feel next week, but you're definitely not going to get it tonight. So we might as well get straight back into Kev Brown. And you were telling us about 2008, 2009. He was in the country, and you just had a oh my god kind of moment.
So DJ Kenzero, yo, shout out to DJ Kenzero. What a legend! What 100%. A legend!
Let's give him a young year, because we don't do a round of applause on this here show. We do one of these. So shout out to DJ Kenzero, yes.
Shout out to DJ Kenzero, because that guy has been doing this promoter thing, and he's been doing it so well. He had this concept called Party People, and one of the events brought Kev Brown to South Africa, and we had the pleasure. I mean, I hadn't heard much about Kev Brown at the time, but I trusted DJ Kenzero's taste, and I miss that about South African events. People tend to go for what's obvious and whoever is popular at the time. But with Kenzero, with Party People, you could always expect people that you didn't really hear anything from. And I mean, I'd heard about Kev Brown, but I wasn't really okay, who's this guy,
Right.
And my goodness, the show was so amazing. He did his thing. I mean, he's a rapper as well, so he performed, and the final thing was him making a beat on stage. My goodness, it was the most amazing thing that I'd ever seen, because for us, making music is something that takes time, to get everything to sound good, to I mean, obviously he had some pre-prepping, he did some prep before he made those beats, but how the beats came together was just incredible, because it was something we had never seen. It was something that we weren't exposed to. And by the time he came to SA, he had already done the stuff with De La Soul. He had already done the stuff with DJ Jazzy Jeff. So he also fell in that category where the songs that he's done, but you're what? That was Kev Brown? Oh, okay. So that was the situation with him. And I think it's important to highlight the fact that in terms of live beat making, people like Kev Brown pioneered that stage. They pioneered the art of impressing their audience with their skills, you know. So shout out to Kev Brown for that. I had I've got a couple of pictures with him there.
I'm very proud of you because you usually forget to do those things.
I do.
You get so caught up in the moments, and then like years later, you're like,
I should have
done this thing.
And for me, I mean, you'll even see in those photos that I was just so happy because I was impressed. I was genuinely impressed because it was something I had never seen before.
As a producer, what about it impressed you? Was it exactly what he was doing? Was it the turnaround time? What was it? Because, you know, for people like us, we'd just be impressed that, oh my God, this is something that's happening. It's just a cool thing.
Right.
But for you who understands all the layers that are involved, you appreciate it in a different kind of way.
I did. I have to also say that, like, his raps are probably like the most not exciting thing about him, you know.
Okay.
But not to say that he's bad at it, you know. So while I was watching him on stage, he just had this crazy boom, you know. Like, you know, when you listen to music and like when that kick kicks, it's hitting you here, and you don't understand. You don't like. You're like, how that engineer? Like, what's this engineer doing? And like, it sounded so crisp, you know. It sounded so well done, you know. As he was, I probably, it was difficult to hear what he was saying, but like the music,
because you're appreciating the music.
Yeah,
itself.
like the whole thing was just coming out so well, and they held it at a place called Rocker, and Rocker's acoustics, weren't really like that great, you know, and that's not to say that it sucked. No, like it just had like, I have my reservations about it, but that night, my gosh, I was just like, yo, who is doing the mixing like to these? Because obviously I've heard DJs play and whatever right before him, but now that he's performing, the sound was just so big and so beautiful.
But do you think that your producer's bias maybe came into play, that you appreciated it a lot more?
Of course. Of course. I mean, like I'm saying, like that photo that I have with him will tell you that like I am thoroughly impressed with this guy.
We need to see this photo. I think we must include it in the video for Producer Spotlight.
Yeah, please.
I feel like you look like a Cheshire cat. You know a Cheshire cat?
Yes, and I don't. I still look cool as hell, man. I'm just excited, you know. The only time I ever had like a really hectic moment was when I met Nas.
Yeah.
See, Nas is like something else because you don't dream of meeting people like Nas. And like the way we met was actually just even more crazier because I didn't even know that I was gonna meet him that day.
Okay, wait, how did you meet Nas? Because now I'm interested. We've got so much time.
Okay, cool. So I met Nas. So I got this plane ticket right to Durban, first ever flight, right?
Wow.
And went to Durban. And I got this call. They were like, yo, we need you to come to the Hilton Hotel, right? I thought I was going on holiday, you know. I thought we were going to spend the weekend in Durban, me and my family.
Yeah.
You know, I'm leaving alone. Okay, maybe they're coming. You know, like, okay, it's fine. Let's go, you know. And I met my sister there. And
shout out to Helen.
Yeah, shout out to Helen. And I went to the Hilton Hotel. I'm chilling there. I'm like, what? All these food, it's like, yo, it's a party here. Like, okay, like, yo, it was just so well set up. And I'll never forget that moment. It was such a crazy ass moment. I was making a drink. I think I can't even remember what I was making, but it was like one of my favorite drinks. And I just saw this white thing that was next to me, and this guy was like, yeah, and I was telling these, I'm like, no way, I know this voice.
I know it.
When I look, I'm like, yo, this Nas. But you see, the thing that made it like not register yet was I couldn't believe how short he was, you know. Okay, not that he's short, but like I was expecting him to be like, yo, like
To tower over you.
Yeah, to be a basketball player. He is taller than me,
Right.
you know. So short is not the right word to use. He was just not as tall as I expected him
Right,
to be,
right.
you know. And that was so crazy, man. Like I was like, yo, what's up, man? Like, yo, I'm such a big fan.
Did you drop your drink?
Man, I don't even know what happened to my drink. I can't tell you what happened to my drink. It was just such a beautiful moment. And he was so warm. He was so like, yo, man, I cool. I'm like, yo, man, what are you doing here? Because I don't know what he's doing. And he's like, no, I should be asking you what you're doing here because I'm supposed to be here. I'm like, oh, you're supposed to be here. What for? Like, what's going on? He's like, yo, man, this is my press conference, you know. So I came here early because I wanted to scope out the place and whatever. And here I am, you know. Journalists haven't come yet. It's early, so it was just a beautiful moment for me. We took a really nice picture. His mans was kind enough to take a picture, and yo, man, I still have it. It's somewhere in my Facebook. It's such a
Yo, I can tell you that for the first time ever in the existence of knowing you, Mr. Instro, I am very, very jealous. We're gonna go get some money while I lick my wounds. Only on the Element. 5 minutes ago, before we hit 7 o'clock, we are still in the middle of Producer's Spotlight. You know, sometimes I wish we could go live throughout the whole thing, even the off-air chats, because it's so fun.
You guys are gonna get me in trouble.
No, I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I'm trying to, you know, show the different sides that you have, remind people who you are.
Yeah.
You know, I think even I forget that, like, oh, big deal, you know? Oh, big deal, Mr. Instro.
You know what you can say? Unoli big deal. You can say that. It's okay. But you see, the thing is, it's not a permanent thing.
Right,
you know,
right.
I'm a big deal in what I'm doing now, you know, and I think, the past is the past. It's gone. I can't dwell on that, you know.
Right.
Yes, I have a lot of beautiful memories of, you know, being in certain spaces, but like, I'm no longer in those spaces, and I'm happy with that.
Right.
And I still have great relationships with everyone who you know, who played a part in my life back then. And no regrets, man. No regrets. I will admit it was a big deal, and I wasn't aware of it at the time.
Yeah.
You know, I was just going with the flow. But also I know that it was everybody else's big moment, you know, like I was just around to witness everybody, you know, get big and do their own thing.
Right.
I still believe that my time as Instro, as like the guy, is still coming. It's not there yet. It's
Yo, Koposkar Lewala. Big
Joe,
time
how can
superstar.
I forget people that like, yo, took me from A to B, bruh? Like, you guys literally, like, you have no idea. There's no way.
It happens sometimes. So we just played Then Do Me, now Story T, featuring Kaygizm, and the joint is called Bophelo Bame. When I
beautiful.
saw this on the track list, I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
So this is another Kev Brown production. Do Me, it's on his album Music From My Good Eye. You know, it's actually quite amazing to me to find to actually think that he would have picked KG, you know, to get onto that hook, because even at the time, you know, like, there was still like a very big drift, you know, between people that did like you know, Zulu raps.
Yes.
You know, there was that whole culture thing that was going on at the time. And I mean, obviously, Do Me at the time was you know, and not, let me not say notorious, but like a big English rapper.
Right.
And it was just interesting at the time for him to get a person like KG. And I think it was even more monumental because they went onto a song produced by an international producer, so like you get the best of everything.
Right.
So that was just brilliant on Dumi's part, you know. But in fact, yo, that entire album, Jay, like if you study the credits and you study his moves around that album. It's just even today, like very few people can pull what he pulled off.
This is true. All right, so now there are 40 seconds before we hit 7 o'clock, and we're going to shut it down on this side of things. We carry on just on the other side of 7 o'clock, and we're going to delve more into Kev Brown. But there's some chats here on our Facebook Live, ne? All right, so I just want to send a shout out to Andrew Fellow. I hope that's the correct pronunciation. Next thing you pronounce and it's not. Saying, this is amazing. Word up, mate. All about you, Mr. Instro. This is not about me at all.
No, I appreciate it.
And then he says, Godspeed, bro. Faith and prayer is the key. Bless up.
Amen.
King. I think it's a beautiful way for us to close off this hour and get into the second and final hour of the show. We're going until 8 o'clock, but the producer spotlight is going until 7:30. Good evening, and thank you for choosing us. Only on The Element. It's just gone 5 minutes after 7 o'clock. We're in the second and final hour of the show. Still bringing you the producer spotlight. Mr. Instro is still here, and we are hanging out. So we opened this second and final hour with Jazzy Jeff and Chef Word with Shake It Off. Mr. Instro was rapping and doing a whole hell of a lot.
Love that song.
And you have something that you want to tell me about as far as Jazzy Jeff and our producer that we are spotlighting this evening. If you just plugged in, we're spotlighting Kev Brown.
Yeah, Kev Brown was heavily affiliated with Jazzy Jeff's A Touch of Jazz.
Right.
Yeah, I believe that he was signed, but it's not really clear what the situation is. Because, you know, in music, sometimes you can talk. And yeah, without having the documents. And then he can say, yo, you are signed. And yeah, then it happens that you are not signed.
Speak on it, King.
You know what I mean? So it's a very, very real thing. There's so many artists that have verbal agreements, and yeah, they get screwed over. And this is definitely not to say Kev Brown got screwed in any way. It's just there's no real. We don't know if he was signed to A Touch of Jazz, but he did a considerable amount of work with DJ Jazzy Jeff, and that includes the album, his The Magnificent, the first one.
Yeah.
It includes that, and that's where really when I heard the songs on the Magnificent, that's when I was like, oh man, I can't believe Kev Brown was part of this amazing production, because that's for me a 5 mic album, you know.
That's heavy.
It's a 5 mic album. It's got love what you do and do what you love. You know what I mean? That's.
Oh, you made me sing. I see what you did there.
Well, that's God. That's not me. Anyway, yeah. So the Magnificent, he was part of a Touch of Jazz, and it was Jazzy Jeff that introduced him to De La Soul. Okay.
All right.
That gave him the producer credit for working with De La Soul, and that's what I need to emphasize. I need to emphasize that. Big shout out to DJ Jazzy Jeff, because he did more than he was meant to do, you know. The story is he actually took some of Kev Brown's beats and he got them mixed, engineered again, you know. And the stuff that he had worked on then, he played for De La Soul, and the guys were really feeling it. And he says himself, he was listening to the songs, and he was impressed with the way those beats were mixed, you know. And for me, that's wow, I wish I could have a label head, someone who's responsible for my well-being to go the extra mile, you know, getting my beats mixed.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Really, that's why De La Soul are able to say, yo, we want this beat. Right. You know, and that's the kind of leadership that we need in this country for musicians, more so hip hop musicians. So big shout out to Jazzy Jeff for that. And let me move on to
The Brown album.
The Brown album, yes.
Yeah, because even in the bio that I was reading earlier on from All Music, right? Let me find it. It says it wasn't until 2004 when the Brown album, his remix version of Jay-Z's The Black album, which came before Danger Mouse's The Grey album, hit the streets. Hit the streets, that Brown started to receive real attention.
Yeah.
Speak on it.
Yeah, so Kev Brown released the Brown album first, but obviously because he's not the bigger producer. I mean, we all respect Danger Mouse. In fact, I need to
I knew it.
Cover Danger Mouse. Yo, Danger Mouse got some serious catalog under his belt, you know. But yeah, he sort of like got like, you know, the most love. So there was a time when, you know, Jay-Z or his record label at the time released these acapellas for the Black album, right? And like the producer world went wild. You know, Danger Mouse, Kev Brown, Ninth Wonders also got some remixes. So everybody just went crazy. Oh, Instro also did some stuff, you know, on those Jay-Z acapellas. And yo, big shout out to Sugar Smacks. Sugar Smacks got us the acapella for the Black album. So yeah, big shout out to Sugar Smacks.
Shout out to Sugar Smacks.
Yeah, so we did those remixes. Kev Brown did those remixes, and he wasn't too impressed, you know, with how like he was overshadowed. And every time he speaks about the Brown album, people mention Danger Mouse, and it irritated him. But the good thing about it is like he also had a very, very strong project. Like it was undeniable, and it was like a great era, man. I hope and pray that one day we will be back there where, you know, it'll be more, you know, creativity, more remixes. I know a lot of the DJs are doing that now, and big shout out to them, because we need that. We need diversity in our sound. You know, I'm happy to have hip hop sounding like anything. You understand what I'm saying? I'm happy for it to go anywhere as long as a person can express themselves in rhythm. As long as a person can, you know, honor their artistry through it. I think, yo, it's limitless what you can do with music. So big shout out to Kev Brown for making it okay, you know. Oh, and another thing about the Brown album is that it was not official, you know. It was just something that just came out of nowhere, and he dropped it, you know. And a lot of times we get in trouble for those kind of things or whatever, but the mixtape culture was growing so much that like, yeah, now this is becoming the norm. And I loved it. I loved the fact that, you know, I can take a Hasheli Mhlophe instrumental and merge that with some Zakwe lyrics, you know, and it'll come up as a beautiful mashup. I know DJ C Live is bad with that stuff, man. Like he's super crazy. Like it's almost like when you listen to his mashups, it's almost like it was that guy or girl was performing to that instrumental, and that's the effect that you wanna build and you wanna create when you work on remixes. And yeah, I know now remixes have a different name. You know, when it's a remix, the person will ask you, oh, so who's on it? You know?
That's true.
When it's a remix, it's like, okay, features. Who are the features? And the actual meaning means that, you know, it was redone. Like they did some work on, you know, even the production. You know, a remix is actually a producer's job. And I'd like to see that making a return. I'd really like to see more of these remixes, these unofficial remixes making a comeback.
All right, it's just gone 14 minutes after 7 o'clock. We're going to take a music break. And then when we come back from the music break, we are actually going to be in the last part of the producer's spotlight. We're going to look at the last few things that we need to know about and from Kev Brown. And then we're going to see what our takeaways from this entire experience are going to be. So here is Kev Brown with The Cavern. 13 minutes to go before we hit 7:30. It's still the producer's spotlight, and Mr. Instro wants to back announce the song that we just played because you've got some intel on the intel.
Well, no, I don't really have the intel. What I do know is that this is the kind of beats. These are the kinds of beats that I really want to make. I really want to make that boom bap, chilled live instruments. And there's a very big void. I remember using the word void because I need to let you know that it's deep, man. It's deep. There's a void between live music and hip hop music today, man, here in SA. And I guess also COVID has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
But it just seems like it's a privileged thing, only AKA, only the big artists can afford bands and all of that. And I feel like, man, we need to change that because there's a certain value that comes with someone holding an instrument on stage while you're rapping or while there's a DJ scratching, there's a beauty in the way when someone is playing a live instrument with the hip hop genre, it just the roots, I'm thinking of the roots and Tumi and the volume. And
I was gonna say the last kind of experience that I had like that was literally last year, just before lockdown came into effect. When we headed out to Stogie T's Empire Sheep live. And
wow.
Kado was there, Ayanda Gio was there, and everything was just amazing.
It was beautiful. I saw through the videos that you guys were having an experience that we don't have these days. When I want to listen to live music, I have to go to a jazz club or I have to just not listen to raps, you know what I mean? And I think, man, I'm hoping and I'm praying. Today I'm hoping and praying. I'm hoping and praying that man, we need to incorporate live music in what we do. And Kev Brown does that really, really well. He does a lot of guitar riffs and he chops those up, and that's how you hear those, those different different sounding in terms of tone guitars. He'll stretch them and he'll just mess around with them, but his biggest gift, right, is the bass line. Nobody can touch Kev Brown with the bass line, okay? He's always been the guy named, king of the bass line. And
somebody tweeted that earlier on when we put out that we're going to be speaking about Kev Brown tonight.
He's very well known for having a really unique, very big bass lines. And I mean, I think also he manages to find space, within the dynamic range. He finds space for the bass line, which is something that's not common, know, and somehow his bass lines just sound much more superior than any other mix that I hear, and I think it's a fitting title to call him the king of the bassline.
King of the bassline. If you just joined us, it's just 21 minutes after 7 o'clock. We've got 9 minutes to go of the producer spotlight before we get into the last half hour of the show, where we will be bringing you some Whose Bar Is It Anyway. But until then, it's still the producer spotlight.
Yes.
And I wanted to know from you, Mr. Instro, with 9 minutes to go, what else do you want to touch on Kev Brown?
Okay.
Before I ask you what our scuffteens for the night are, our takeaways from this entire thing.
Okay, I need you guys to first of all support him. He's got a project out with J Cyanide. Please support that. It's dope. It's real raps. If you love boom bap hip hop, that's right up your alley. So support, let's support Kev Brown.
Yes.
Let's make sure that like the kind of musicians that aren't necessarily like in the mainstream also have an opportunity to have a livelihood.
True.
And outside of that, Nje, just to help them stay passionate about what they do. Because I mean, recently, in the past few days, we've had, experiences of producers wanting to give up, producers not feeling inspired and feeling alone. And I just want to encourage people to support. It's so important for us to make sure that the music is alive. If we don't have music, what do we have?
That's true. So that Kev Brown and Jay Cyanide joints, Straight from the Pack,
that's the one.
There it is. So that's what you need to check out. Mr. Instro wants you to show as much love and support as you can. Kev Brown and Jay Cyanide, Straight from the Pack is what you are looking for.
Yeah.
And then
It's Captain.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to pose a question, right? And we can talk about it some other time, if you don't want to engage now. But I'm curious, right? Do you guys think we need the return of vinyl and cassette? Yeah, like I feel like it's a very important question.
Right.
And the reason why it's important is because it solves a lot of problems for musicians. Okay? Vinyl and cassette right now solve a lot of problems for musicians. Young Thug just released some music now. I forget what the name, like a strap, like. But
It's all a house, like, yeah, man.
yeah, but I was impressed.
Okay.
Because he released it in cassette. And we don't like, unless you've got like the old school cassette tape and whatever, like you won't be able to duplicate it.
Right.
And I feel like if we find ourselves in a place where we can devise something that would easily play the tape, but not necessarily duplicate it. I think that would bring us back into the game of units.
Right.
Do you understand? Because for me, I feel like streaming is...
Because you can stream music without necessarily buying it, for instance.
It's a joke.
And obviously, I mean, you pay for your subscriptions and everything. But you can just go onto YouTube, because after some time, even if you don't have your Apple Musics and Spotify's and all these other DSPs, after some time, it's there on YouTube, which is free for all.
Exactly.
So I get it from that perspective, but I also think there's just something about, I mean, when you speak about it, I'm thinking about back in the day where I had cassette tapes, and I was so super excited when I used to go through like my dad's vinyl collection, and just from a cultural perspective, I think that it would be really dope to get them back as well. I still have a cassette player as well.
Dope. That works.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's dope.
I still have, I intentionally, and it's the only thing, so I have two. I have a cassette player, and then I have what did we call it, a hi-fi, the CD. I still have it. That's
so crazy.
It's white. I have a hi-fi where the CD's on the top, and then you can put the cassette in the bottom.
Oh, those small ones.
Those
used to
small
get
ones.
Dion or something like that. Okay, nice.
I have a white and silver one, and the only thing that still works is the cassette player. The CD reader doesn't work.
Dope.
So I refuse to throw it out because of that. But I just think, like you're saying, it helps with units, but also just sense of ownership. I think you appreciate it a lot more as well. And I remember having to get up and go to Musica if I wanted to hear what 50 Cent has released, what Squatter has released. I remember that feeling and just the emotional connection that you have to it as a result of actually paying for it.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, if we started a campaign that says, yo, musicians, only make your music either live, right? At least with the with live streaming, okay, cool, we understand it's a show live, you know. Or you put your music on a tape, because a tape deck is not easily accessible. You'd have to go find one, right? Which means you're making an investment, right? You're investing in music. Vinyl, same thing. You can't take a vinyl and then now you want to duplicate another vinyl.
Yeah.
No, we don't have the machinery for that. But you can play it, which means that we are back in the units game, you know? And that for me is where I'd like to see music. I'd like to see music back in the space where we have a tangible product.
Yes.
You know, to say, yo, this is the thing that's here and it exists and I can touch it. And another very important thing about the tape and the album is that it's going to get us back into album listening to an album.
Yes.
You know, when you have it and like sometimes you want to fast forward,
But you don't want to hear the
yeah. And also like it's kind of difficult to,
Also, it ruins the tape.
it ruins the tape.
Yes.
That's perfect. And also like I think when you listen to a tape, the first thing that you want to not do is skip.
True.
Do you understand? Because now you're troubling yourself. So as a musician, it would be more beneficial for me to focus on a body of work. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, like I was listening to the DMX albums, Flesh of My Flesh.
Yes.
It's Dark and Hell is
yes,
Hard.
yes.
Those albums are stories. Like they take you from one place to another. And I was like, yeah, actually, this is how I got introduced to how you make albums. You know what I mean? You create a story that a person can listen to. I remember there was a time where, you know, I had like a top 5 skits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're like, yo, skits. Like, I love these skits, you know? And
Those are always so special.
yeah.
They came out of nowhere and you're like, oh, what's the next one? Oh, what's the next one?
Exactly. And they brought like a certain, they brought context to what the project was about. And nowadays, you don't get that. People just want to make singles. And I mean, I can't really blame the musicians when we have a culture of playlists. We have a culture of people who don't want to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah,
I just want to hear the single.
Right, we're in the culture of my attention span is not great, so I don't have the hour and however much minutes it's going to take for me to listen to these 16, 17 songs. I just don't have the time. And if you are getting projects that are 16, 17 songs strong, they are now also 2 minutes 20 seconds. Unlike before, where like now when we for instance have vintage hip-hop on the show, I'm like 5 minutes for that one song. I know that because that's how it was back in the day.
3 verses.
Yes.
Yeah. So I believe, like, not that I'm trying to live in the past or I'm trying to bring back something that's supposedly played out. It's just I'm looking out for the musician. I feel like we play such an important role in society that that it's important to make sure that we're fed, you know, to make sure that we're living good so that we can document these stories. You know, the movie makers are doing their thing. In fact, they're struggling too with the movies. Yo, I can just stream that movie and it's a wrap, you know.
Yeah, but also give me a day and I can find it through the torrent sites.
Absolutely. So I think if we somehow found a way to get this music back onto proper product, I think we would get somewhere. I don't know. I mean, it's just a question that I was looking at Kev Brown's releases, and that's what he's doing. You know, he's releasing a lot of his music on vinyl, and I find that really, really dope because at least he's selling you his art in a tangible way. Right. You know, and yeah, like as a musician, I'm gravitating towards that as well, you know, to say, yo, I want to make music that that I can sell to people.
Yeah.
You know, I want to tell a story through music, and I want you to listen to it through this album.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, that's how I feel, man. And I want to see us become, you know, the real historians that we actually are, you know?
And I think that's where we can close it off. Shout out to you, Mr. Instro. Thank you so much. We'll catch you again next week, Wednesday. And if you behave yourself, I'll sing for you next week, Wednesday. Unlike how you made us start
I'll
today.
I promise.
That's been our producer spotlight for this evening. That question, I think it would be very, very interesting to hear your thoughts. Do we want to see a return of vinyl and cassette? What do you think? Do you want to see a return of vinyl and cassette? Is there any value in it? Let us know what you think. We are going to put out a video so that you can comment on that, and then we will put it together as far as your comments and have that discussion as well again, maybe in a couple of weeks time. Right now, 28 minutes to go before we hit 8 o'clock. We definitely need to go and listen to some music after all that talk. Kicking it off with Raheem Kemet with Black History, Melly Mel on this one, Kesed the Younger, and shout out to P Cutter as well.
Yeah.
The Producer Spotlight with Mr. Instro.
You can be a beat maker and not be a music producer. But when you're a music producer, you don't have to be a beat maker.
Only on the element.